whole meeting for May 3rd, 2016. I call this meeting to order and ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Aarons, absent. Kammerer? Here. Carbonaro?
Here.
Daney?
Yes, here.
Hopkins?
Here.
Ranky?
Here.
President Wallace?
Here. First item we have in our committee meeting this evening is under Planning and Zoning Committee. Chairman Ranky.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have one item, the Bartlett Ridge subdivision. With that, I'll turn it over to Jim.
Thank you, Trustee Ranky. As you heard earlier, we held the special service area public hearing for the Bartlett Ridge subdivision. I don't know why their attorney left, but I thought he would have stayed for this. But this is the Bartlett Ridge subdivision, as up on the screen. You know it as on the east side of Naperville Road, north of the Timberline development. The Bartlett Ridge preliminary and final plat is 45 lots for building, 49 lots total. They are amending the preliminary and final plat because they had some re-engineering from the previous development that you had seen. And primarily, they also found some wetlands on the property. So we are amending the preliminary and final subdivision, amending the preliminary and final PUD, and two special uses, one for the amended PUD and the second for the wetlands. And let me just get through to the this lot 49. I point this out because this is part of where the Park District has requested a bike trail. You had asked about that before. So it is contained within lot 49, which will be maintained by the Homeowners Association. Again, the final and preliminary and final PUD plan. This is the landscape plan, landscaping showing trees along the right-of-way and landscaping along the detention area in the southeast corner. The tree preservation plan, there are some trees, believe it or not, that will be preserved, but as you can see, there will be a lot that will be removed. This was discussed heavily at the Plan Commission. This is the slide I wanted to get to. This is where the existing wetlands at, so the special use is basically to mitigate this wetland out of there and buy into a wetland bank, and this will become part of the detention area. And then just various layouts of the homes that they intend to build. This went to the Plan Commission back in earlier this month. I believe it was in April, and I was there, but I don't remember the date. I'm getting older. And the Plan Commission did recommend approval of the development as you see it. So that is pretty much the sum and substance of the development. If you have any questions, I will try to answer them. And it is before you prior to moving on to the village board for a final vote.
Jim, I guess I was going to put some of these questions towards the developer, but since they're not here, let me ask you, if we're going to mitigate this existing wetland, how's the drainage going to work for the entire subdivision?
Well, this has been engineered, and engineered actually twice. First time, the development engineered some of the perimeter properties around the church, if you will, and some of the properties to the east. And they were going to put in some swales and improve the development and help out with the drainage of those areas. The church backed away from the easement to grant it, so did some of the other surrounding properties. Basically, they're going to contain everything on site with the use of retaining walls and digging out this detention basin and running it through into the storm system that will be built, and then into this detention area, and then we'll outlet as per our stormwater ordinance from the DuPage County Stormwater Ordinance, which this has to apply to. The wetlands, basically, when they say mitigate, they're really getting rid of them. All they're going to do is dig this out deeper, and you can probably see some of the contours on that map, and then replace it as what the county requires. They use best management practices, and they'll do a wetland basin with plantings and with some, it'll be wet and allow the plantings to grow, but it'll still detain all the water that's required from this development. And we've reviewed it from the engineering standpoint. Their engineers designed it according to our stormwater. So it's unfortunate the wetlands, we have to go, but that's the only way this property can develop. And we require special use, and because it's in Cook County, the Corps of Engineers requires them to mitigate it by buying into a wetland bank.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
We're going to move this on to the village board then.
As in, I guess we can discuss it again there. Is there anybody in the audience that has any questions about the plans? Yeah. It seems like a relatively significant change at the last minute to me. So we may want to suggest that, where are they at in timing?
That's not realistic. So if you get it on your next board agenda and you approve the subdivision, they have to go through the final plating and all that type of stuff, so it'll carry them at least till that long.
And there's going to be a Corps of Engineers looking at this drainage situation, a lot of eyes looking at the potential problem that they could have, because when I hear building retention walls to retain water flow, it makes me a little nervous.
They're basically creating a more of a bowl that they didn't have when they had some of the off-site easements. And the whole site had to be re-engineered. They did get rid of the previous engineer, and they have a new engineer that is, I believe it's Semcon is doing this one. Yeah, and Semcon works a lot in the village and are familiar with the requirements.
All right.
Have we had our own engineers review the plans?
Oh, yeah, yeah. And then we have to sign off on the final engineering as well. And so those things, just like the final plat, Bob has to sign that. The county has to sign that. The mayor does, our plan commission chairman. So the whole platting process, the easements will all get recorded. They have to put up letters of credit. All that still is to come.
Well, and just because we're forwarding this to the village board for consideration doesn't mean we have to approve it. If we ask questions we don't like the answers, we can table it or vote no, or there's options.
Your prerogative. And I'll make sure that Nate is here and the attorney. It's kind of unusual.
It would have been nice to have him here tonight.
I don't know why he left.
The attorney was here, but the developer was not.
Oh, the guy that was with him is with the development.
I didn't see another guy.
Yeah, and I don't know why they left.
Okay. All right, thank you.
That's all we have for planning and zoning.
Thank you, Chairman Ranke. Next item we have this evening, the committee meeting under Finance and Golf Committee is Chairman Daney.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have the mosquito abatement that we need to discuss, and received the memo. It was addressed to Valerie. It's from Paula, and I really would prefer if somebody from staff would take it from here.
I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
This really is an issue, a broader issue, although we have focused on mosquito abatement this evening, about services and how they are paid for in the different areas, the different counties of this community. So, for instance, the issue at hand is that all of Cook County is in the Northwest Mosquito Abatement District, and they pay for the mosquito abatement services on their tax bill once a year. And for the rest of the community, we are part of a consortium that contracts with Clark, Mosquito Abatement, and they take care all of DuPage County. But the issue is that if the cost for Clark is in our general corporate fund or any of our funds, then the whole community pays into that. We have our sales tax and our property tax and all those kinds of things. It's a part of our budget. And so I think that the argument has been made that that represents double taxation. And I think Trustee Hopkins had asked if we could have a discussion on that and also to consider any ways to rectify that. And as you can see here, we did propose one. The amount of money that we pay Clark is $72,000 a year. So if we were to take it out of our budget, and I think that's what we were talking about, Trustee Hopkins, take it out of our budget and have it paid directly by the people who benefit from it, which is pretty similar to what's going on in Cook County, that would be $8.66 for a resident or a business and 72 cents a month. And certainly that would eliminate the double taxation. The only way that we could think to collect that would be to put it on the water bills. And certainly if we did that and they didn't pay it, we're not going to turn off their water. I mean, it's not a water issue. So I don't know that we have any firm conclusions on that. But we did get this far, and the board asked us to bring it to an agenda, and we have done that.
I'd like to just take a minute and say, I don't know how you were able to put all these together, but I want to thank staff for at least addressing this for Trustee Hopkins. So,
Yeah, I think it's great that we're talking about it, and it's not a large dollar sum, but it is something that we should discuss and take action on, whether it's putting it on the water bill or setting up a special service area or another mechanism that staff can think about. I think the bigger issue besides residents, some Cook County residents pay anywhere from, $3 to $25, depending on the value of their house. But the bigger issue is the commercial residents. There's some commercial residents and industrial residents or industrial users that pay $500 or $600 to the Northwest Mosquito Abatement District. So that's a large dollar sum. So I think it's good that we're talking about this, and hopefully we can come to a conclusion what we should do.
well, let me ask you this. If we ever get to that point where we start billing the residents and businesses in DuPage, I don't know who mentioned it here earlier, but I believe you did talk about the motor and fuel tax to help the bike pass. Maybe something like this could be allocated towards it. No, can't do that. I've seen our attorney shaking his head. All right,
That's
I'll tell
not
you what.
a
Can't we use it?
tax-eligible expense. I mean, maybe there's another funding source, but it couldn't be motor fuel tax.
Ms. Administrator,
Sorry, you're right. Yeah, I have the same problem you do.
do you know what the state legislation regarding mosquito abatement
Yes.
pending may have to do?
It's dead, but we are told that it may come up in the fall. There was a proposal, I think you all got a copy of that, wherein all of the municipalities in the county, in DuPage County, would go together, and Wayne Township would be responsible for mosquito abatement. And that, of course, would have solved this whole problem, because then we've got it out of Bartlett. And we tried to follow it in session. We had our lobbyists following it, and it disappeared rather quickly. Didn't make it, but there is some chance, I'm told, that it will come up again.
You know, I need to ask, I don't know if we want to go forward with this or not. We're talking about 72 cents per month I know it's 72,000, but it's split up between over 8,000 residents and businesses. I believe that the first step is we need to know whether or not we even want to move forward with this.
I think what you got to understand too is it's 72 cents per month for DuPage County residents.
That's right.
If you divide it over the entire village, it's half that.
Well,
Not exactly.
Because if you take the 72,000 divided by those that Trustee Hopkins wants to absorb the cost on versus the 72,000 divided by the number of people that are paying it now, it's not going to save the village, the people that are in Cook County 72 cents a month. It's going to save them about half of that. Because right now, this 72,000 is divided by the total number of households. So it's about 38 cents or something. You know what I'm saying?
It's divided only by the two pages.
oh, yeah, it's only
Right. But the total amount is 72,000 right now divided by all households.
Right.
What's the total number of households?
It's about 14,000.
So about 36 cents per household pays this amount.
Even
So
less.
the amount that they're going to save is 36 cents a month
Well, I think,
because it's all going to be transferred over to 72 cents a month for the DuPage side.
I understand what Trustee Hopkins' objection is, and I think
I do
it
too.
makes sense.
Yeah, I think we all do.
I think the problem is how are we going to do this? It sounds like if we add it to the water bill, which I know is going to make Brian twitch in his seat, because every municipality wants to add a fee to their water bill and then shut people's water off because of it. It's problematic.
Yes.
I'm assuming that implementing that is going to cost something, right? We're going to have to change our billing software. We're going to have to.
That's correct.
So there's got to be a way to do this in a way that minimizes the transactional costs. Let's call them the transactional costs, because I think what the mayor's getting at is, at some point you're talking about a very small amount of money. But I agree with the principle.
I agree with the principle. I just think I think we could task staff to maybe come up with maybe some type of an alternative. And I don't think it's insignificant. I think everybody hates to think that there's double taxation.
Yeah.
And I think Trustee Hopkins, in his defense, has obviously pointed something out here that is doubled. But
So what I'm understanding is that the general consensus is to move forward. and
I think,
try.
I think we could get some more recommendations from staff, and I don't know if Brian
come up with
can.
a creative, different way to versus water bill.
Well, yeah.
Brian or Mr. Mraz, what are some costs associated with starting a special service area?
That would be cost prohibitive, I would say. You need legal descriptions for the entire district. It would cost more than, well, it's not going to cost $72,000, but easily for that large an area, $5,000, people can object and then they're not in it. So that's not really a viable solution. I mean, at staff, we talked about instead of a tax, maybe a credit the other way around, but that left a hole in the budget. So, we have explored some other options. They weren't great solutions, but an SSA, I believe, for the amount involved and the process with an SSA, when you're seeing these with a developer, you've got one owner, basically, who signs on and consents to the notice. In an SSA process, people can opt out, and then you got nothing left. So that's not really viable. I mean, we could look at I'm loath to try and add it as an additional tax, and then what do you do about it if it's not paid, or someone doesn't pay their water bill because they object to this portion that, but when we looked at, instead of a tax on DuPage, a credit on the water bill to Cook, it did leave a shortage then to make up.
Well, right now, Bartlett pays 90% of the abatement, right? And Wayne Township pays 10%. why wouldn't we just look at Bartlett accepting, opting out of Wayne Township, creating our own, find out how much it costs to cover the whole town of Bartlett, and see what the costs are involved in that, where we do it on our own.
Because legally, we don't have the ability to get out of the Northwest Mosquito Abatement District.
Till when, when is the?
Brian, do you
It's-
know?
It was a process that it keeps going.
I didn't think
There is a
it was a date.
process that they have in their ordinance where they could credit some monies back if you're also providing the service, but just the processing costs of that and convincing them to do it, I think would eat up a big chunk of the dollars at hand. So, that just creates another double tax.
Okay.
Well, and let me ask this, what do we do for mosquito abatement in the Kane County portion of the village, if anything?
There will be residents pretty soon.
Right, then that's
Right.
where I'm going with this.
They'll just be in Bartlett and we'll spray them.
Was there any way to opt out of the Cook County portion and have DuPage come in and do the Cook County portion? I mean, there's nothing, no way to do
That's what we're talking about, getting
So we were
Cook
looking-
County out of the Northwest Mosquito Abatement District. And Brian says we can't do that.
Statutory, there is a statutory process, but it leaves a lot to them, up to their discretion, which I guess, they would have to mail to everyone. You'd eat up a big chunk in postage and things.
How much does it cost for a giant mosquito net?
big bug zapper.
If it's okay with you, Trustee Hopkins, if we can just ask staff to keep thinking
We'll
about
just-
this. And
We'll just,
it sounds like you've already had very in-depth meetings and trying to figure out
Yeah.
how to unpack this, and at least we're thinking in the right direction. So if that's all right, let's keep working on that.
we'd be happy to do that.
Thank you.
I can interject something.
Off?
Interjecting?
Off.
For someone who runs 3 sets of books myself, I don't think we really want to go down this slippery slope. Do we want to open up a general fund for Kane County, for Cook County, for DuPage County? I think this is a lot of effort being thrown into a small amount of money, because then I would be interested in my refund for my sewer tax dollars that are being used to construct a reservoir at North and Prospect. My tax dollars are paying for that. I don't know if we really want to go down this road. It seems to have worked so far. And if we're going to look at minute amounts, it's going to go back and forth. What are we going to have, 4 or 6 houses in Kane County? Are they going to be able to afford to pay the mosquito bill that is going to be charged to the village? We're going to have a shortage there. We have to spread that out with everybody else. Which account do we take it out of? And it's getting silly, isn't it?
Nice point. I agree. Okay. Thank you, Trustee Carbonaro. Is that it, Trustee Daney?
Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
All right, Chairman Daney, that's it. That's it for our committee of the whole meeting this evening. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Trustee Daney, seconded by Trustee Hopkins. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Cameron,
Yes.
Carbonaro,
Yes.
Daney,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Ranky.
Inevitable, no.
We are adjourned.